I think it's about time to say howdy, howdy, howdy.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome from the Wastelands to everybody. Hello to everybody in the chat. We got the Stanleys here. Good to see y'all. Peter, Alex, Michael, Mr. Ed, Sarah, Sidetrack, of course. Good to have everybody here. Norm, good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you all so much for being here this morning.
Yeah.
I am Greg the Ghoul. I'm here with my co-host Harris. Welcome to the Radical Wasteland podcast, episode number 4 here, isn't it? Number 4. Welcome. So glad to have everybody here. We have a very special guest here today. We actually have a true soul survivor, a true courier, a true wanderer of the wasteland, Mr. Paul Masterson here. Paul, so glad to have you. How long have we known each other, man?
We have known each other quite a while. We went to high school together, though you were a couple of grades ahead of me, so we knew of each other. We played Avalon, the LARP together. That we were in different guilds.
Yep.
We've known each other. We go back about 5 years since we just graduated from college, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Well, man, glad to have you here today, this morning. So excited. It's funny. We started this podcast, 2 months ago now, roughly?
About 2 months.
And, we're talking all things Fallout, whether it's a TV show, whether it's the tabletop role-playing game, which you and I have played together.
Yep.
Or it's, the video game series, obviously, which is what it started as, anything post-apocalyptic. And we heard about Wasteland Weekend. And, everybody's heard of Burning Man. Some folks who are, into that scene, you've heard of like the smaller events that kind of branched off of it. And Wasteland is one that I had heard of mentioned every once in a while, but I hadn't really looked into it. Then, of course, we started doing this and I started Googling around and found out that they had like a whole Fallout themed camp and everything this year. So I was like, holy shit, I got to talk to somebody who's actually done this before. Yeah. And lo and behold, next thing I see on my Facebook is that you're going to it. And then I ran into you that night outside of, oh my God, what's the geek bar? Oh, the board game bar.
Yeah. So outside of Guildhall,
that's the one. Yeah. In North Hollywood, and ran out into you there because you were going to a Wastelander meetup in your whole outfit and everything. And I was just like, okay, we're going to get you on the show here. We're going to talk about this. So
Yep.
Absolutely. So first off, how was it?
It was awesome. It was awesome. I've been to Burning Man 3 times. I live in, as we do in North Hollywood in Los Angeles. Burning Man's great. There's all sorts of, actually some of the group from Wasteland go there. There's one of the most popular attractions at Burning Man is called Thunderdome. And so, and that the death camp, they take that to Burning Man. So I was a little aware of them, but it's a trek to get out there. Whereas for Wasteland, it's just up near the Air Force Base. And for those of us in SoCal, it's just a couple of hours to get there. It's funny because there's the way you go in is pretty rough road at the tail end. It's about 5 miles where you're going 5 miles an hour, 5 to 10 miles an hour. So it'll take, maybe 2.5 hours to get up there. And then you'll still have like 45 minutes to an hour on that final stretch.
But really make you earn it.
Yeah, but it's definitely a lot easier to get to. It was awesome. It was really great. I would say I haven't seen official figures, but I think it's probably around 4,000 people.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to kind of get around, and you keep running into the same people. There's Main Street, and then there's the kind of side corridors.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just, everyone there is so friendly. I think, you don't have like the massive, Google and .com money that you do at Burning Man, where there's, some of those camps will have security and like, no, you're not welcome here at Wasteland. It's just, you're strolling in, you're like, hey, how you doing? I'm so-and-so. And they're like, you want a beverage? You want to, what do you want? Are you trading? You got caps? You trading caps? And it was awesome. There's the Last Chance Casino, which basically is a major hub where there's a ton of great games. There's tons of lore constantly going on. Every year it switches off between the sheriff's race and the mayor's race, which also has a whole bunch of stuff going on around that. As my first year going and knowing just a couple of people, it was the deep end. Even growing up LARPing, et cetera, I was not prepared. But it was awesome. And there's vendors there. So if you feel like, hey, I need some clothes, like that's always an option. There's a lot of places again that people are there to help you out. If you say like, hey, I'm a first year and I kind of need some stuff, they'll help you out. There's a place called the Body Shop that they're there to help distress your clothes or basically help you with your Wasteland look. If you like basically need some makeup, etc. And and someone was asking, what are the caps like? Like basically what I saw there, I mean, a lot of the economy there is barter, which was really fun. A lot of people just gather stuff throughout through the weekend, throughout the year, and then bring it in for literal barter. So people have their own things of like 3D printing of animals, or they collect stuffed animals throughout the year, or they create garb, and then people will roll around camp to camp and do straight up like barter. And then people create their own kind of custom caps for either their camp or their personal cap. And so people around like, hey, great to meet you. Here's my cap. And so people are trading those caps back and forth. And it was really cool. Some people do hand painted. There's a whole company that does printed caps that I think started out for kind of craft beer makers. So I personally, I know a lot of people do their printed caps. The ones I loved the most were folks who hand painted their own, because it's like that's pretty
dedication.
Yeah. But everyone was just incredibly kind. Someone was asking, did I cosplay as the War Boys or Fallout Rangers? I saw them walking around. I did not personally. I know the guy who won for sheriff this year, part of his whole thing was integrating new guys and creating an opportunity for everybody, where he is I'm blanking on his name right. He has a whole baseball theme, and he's been a part of it for a long time. And so next year, if you can become a little slugger, of where there will be outfits to basically go around as a deputy and execute missions as a little slugger. So there's all sorts of bounties and quests. I did the merchant's quest for the outpost, where you got to go around to 10 different camps that are involved. You got to barter something and get a signature. And then if you get back to the outpost without being taken by the raiders, you get your official merchant's card. And that's good to go back into the merchant's bar, which is a members only. You can bring a guest with you back in the back of the outpost, which is near the main performance venue. And so, I mean, that was just, it was all, I mean, it's awesome. It's an awesome experience.
I'm imagining someone walking from Diamond City in baseball garb to the little like the trader place.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know what town, but whatever the trader place is, I just the epitome of that.
Yep, I need to do a whole post-apocalyptic Red Sox look for this now. Absolutely.
And that's sort of what they have, with the baseball grenades, and a lot of folks having the barbed wire wrapped bats, and the baseball, basically the cleats and the gloves as armor, and like the catch. It's awesome,
dude. Yeah, that's dope. So David in the chat's asking if there were any baby Deathclaws for sale. You're gonna train it and ride it like Boba Fett? I mean, I did the fandoms here, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw all sorts of little stuff all throughout the area of folks. People also have their tricked out war wagons and war bikes. Again, it's pretty small, so you don't really need a vehicle, but like the gear that's there in terms of vehicles and small bikes that people do Wasteland style is really cool. I mean, it was inspired. This year was year 14. Next year will be the 15th anniversary. So it's going to be, I think they're saying it's going to be a really big year next year to celebrate, that 15th anniversary. So it really started with a gentleman, as I understand it, and forgive me, those at home who might know Wasteland way better than I do. It started with someone who's just a huge fan of Mad Max. And then it kind of expanded out into folks who were Waterworld fans. That's how part of the Outpost started out. Really? And at one point, there was even a camp that had a big ship that had been part of the set of Waterworld, that once they decided that they were kind of done, they did a big burn of of their camp, basically at the tail end of it. And then it expanded out, into Fallout. There's a bit more Fallout this year. The main thing there was, with this kind of post-apocalyptic feel of trying to encourage people to have more of kind of a the term they say is it needs more dirt of, like have that post-apocalyptic feel of where you're not just fresh stepping out of a vault, but that you've seen some things, you've been through some stuff.
You're making your Radaway work at overtime.
Exactly. Yeah.
Are just like specific franchises? I guess every single year, are there like maybe some Walking Dead people, maybe some Borderland people dressed as some psychos or something?
Well, I mean, I think the main thing you don't see really Walking Dead or Borderlands. I mean, part of the thing that I've seen some people do some amazing makeup at other places. I didn't see any there, but part of the whole idea was just like, hey, does it fit into the post-apocalyptic theme? Is it going to be something where you're going to, that it would fit in this world versus something that is, really more video game versus, does it pay tribute and kind of honor the folks who've been there for the last 14 years, of like, you're welcome to the party, but if it's a costume party, don't show up, wearing, if it's a 70s or an 80s party, don't deliberately show up, in something else, like, honor the vibe, is I think the overall thing. And there's a great website.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah. They're like, everyone's welcome and just be nice and, just honor the vibe. They've got Wasteland Radio. I think it's one of the things that really I reminded me a lot of Fallout. You have this constant radio going of like the old school, old timey, what is it? Roll out through the Fallout, play, all those like great. Yeah. And you've got your DJs, et cetera. I mean, you can go to the post office there and like, again, quests everywhere, all sorts of different types of quests, and you can try and hunt for outlaws. And then the way that gets handled is they have basically a rock paper scissors style of competition for if there's a shootout. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. I was going to ask about how they resolve. So like if they were doing boffers and Nerf darts, or if it was Vampire the Masquerade style for combat resolution.
Yep. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And I mean, it was just, there's all sorts of really cool camps that were, they have their own themes, et cetera. I mean, shout out to the Love Bombs. They're out of LA. I saw that. I hung out with them a lot. They were just so much fun. There were 2 arcades that were kind of post-apocalyptic style arcades. One that was kind of called Gillies, which had just a bunch of the kind of homemade crane machines and all sorts of different style old school games. But then there was another one that had basically throwbacks to the 70s, 80s, and 90s style video games, but that had been the whole feel of it was if the bombs had fallen and somebody had basically put back together these games, these old arcade systems in like crates and carrying boxes, et cetera, of like, what would that tech be like? Of like, oh man, like the tech is pretty much gone, but we managed to salvage this. Take a look at this.
What they make from it,
yeah. And the rock concerts, and they had like a BattleBots cage and burlesque, and like, I mean, it's awesome. And then you have the Thunderdome. Every night, people are going hard in there. A lot of people got injured. You sign your waiver because,
you fuck around, you find out. Yeah.
It's usually like best friends that are fighting each other in there. And when you're fighting a friend in Thunderdome, it's one of those things like, you better go. I've seen people like amp each other, like, don't you hold back. And it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Dude, that is so cool. And it's Wednesday to Sunday, yeah? So like there is time for you to be immersed.
Yeah. And so there we go. Yeah, you think the gates open up at like 8. People are going out there doing an early build. I got there a bit before sundown on the Wednesday, and then it wraps at noon on Sunday. So the people start rolling out that Sunday morning. And then people are out there for another week, though, taking down spaces. I mean, Zeke's gas stop is another place that's largely out of LA. I mean, they set up a whole gas station, huge interior place that was hosting like food challenges and pickling things and all sorts of meetups. And again, I think barter, that was the thing I wasn't prepared for, of just how many, like every camp seemed to have like a barter section. And then there were a lot of people who go around as merchants who have whole wagons full of barter stuff.
Oh, wow.
And there are people who do barter competitions of everyone starts with like the same small thing and seeing how good of a barter you are. You've got like 3 hours to come back with something.
Upgrade it, like see who can get the house. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a gal, Spork, also known as the Barter King, who is phenomenal at bartering, who took second in the barter competition and felt robbed. I think she was probably. I think Spork was right. But judges make their ruling in terms of
what did she start with and what did she end with?
I think she started. I think the person who won ended with like 2 kind of modified Nerf guns, and I think everyone starts with something along the lines of almost like a paperclip. And I think she ended up with some sort of like large mailbox that had some other aspect to it. I forget. I mean, she's very good at bartering. I think that's
fun.
Mailbox.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Now, is there like an overarching organization that is responsible for like coordinating the plot and everything, or are people in groups coming in and like creating their own stories and plot lines and things that everybody gets to play through?
That's a great question that I can only speak to partially. I think each camp kind of has their own lore, but I think there are the folks who, as I understand it, who run the who run the organization, who will introduce new lore and new plot year to year.
Okay. So we have our Zackrell family. Those are the guys who ran Avalon back when we played the 3 brothers, Charlie, Jeremy, and Timmy, and they like wrote the game and wrote the lore and everything, and were in charge of plot, and provided most of the A-tier adventures while the game was going on. And then of course, camps, different groups, different factions would have their own storylines going, things that they'd come up with, and things that they would do throughout. So it sounds like that there is like a global plot line, for lack of a better term, or a camp-wide plot line, but then each group has their can have their own stuff going and offer their own challenges and shit. That's cool. Yeah. So I love that. That's incredible. I mean, I would love to be immersed in this. This is something I got to check out. So Harris, we got an official Sidetrack team going.
Sidetrack is going to every Comic-Con, not every Comic-Con. We're going to as many things as we can next year. We're preparing better for next year.
Absolutely.
We're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of core aspects of the storyline year to year, and then there's so many side things. Again, like with the raiders and the merchants, you've got sort of basically both people who are, basically playing the game of the merchants versus the raiders, etc. There was also, I didn't get a chance to get into. There's sort of like an assassins guild. You can basically put a hit on somebody, and then if they find you, they get a notice that they've been killed. And what that's like. You are the Walking Dead, and there's ways to basically get back to becoming alive. There was a number of kind of side plot things that I wasn't really fully aware, like games within camps versus camps. There was also a great game called the Bomb Game, where it changed day to day, and there was like 10 different camps that were involved in that, where there's a camp that's the bomb makers, and each camp would make their own particular bombs, and then they'd have to turn them into the people who are running the bomb game. And the rules of the game each day changed, where you'd be trying to hide those bombs in the other camps, and then people would be coming around counting what was there and what wasn't there. And sometimes it'd be like, okay, a camp member cannot be the one to remove this, or a camp member cannot be the one to plant it. So you've got to recruit non-camp members to come on in and, be like, hey, you for a drink, would you mind taking that somewhere else? People who are involved. So it's just a lot of interaction and a lot of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah. Again, really great setups, really smart in terms of interacting with folks and creating the fun and allowing people to kind of be as involved as they wanted to or not. And there were a number of cafes where you're going in, getting some water, or some coffee, or a cocktail, and people are doing like open mics or jam sessions or all. I mean, just a really welcoming community. There was and a lot of humor too. There's one particular place that for a couple of hours a day they have on stage is only fans. And so I was like, wait, what is this? And they bring up a whole bunch of box fans and misters. So it's only fans during the for basically a cool down tent because it does get warm out there.
I do appreciate the humor. Yeah. That's awesome. That's incredible. Like this, and now when the difference between this and something like Burning Man, obviously, is that smaller in scale, but also Burning Man doesn't have this kind of stuff going, does it?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I would say this is really an interactive kind of a LARP driven as much as you want, an immersive experience of a post-apocalyptic world. Mm-hmm. Whereas I would say Burning Man is an arts festival that is everything from there's yoga and healing camps there and kids camp and AA camp to you've got your sound camps who are there to just listen to some of the top EDM DJs in the world who fly out there and speakers from around the world. And you've got the Google pyramid where people, they don't like it called that, but it's all Google money. That is a massive pyramid that, can fit hundreds of people in there and have artists who are playing from around the world. It's just it's a completely different vibe and scale. There's some cool art there, but you're not going to see one of my favorite pieces of art ever at Burning Man was basically a 30-foot Pegasus that takes 5 people to operate it, and then its wings catch fire. It's amazing and breathtaking and incredible art, but that is for an arts festival.
Yeah.
This is, you're in the Wasteland. What do you want to do? You want to go play for caps at the Last Chance Casino? You want to go see some awesome rock music that's themed for post-apocalyptic? You want to see some robots battle? You want to stroll around and role play? Then that's that's what at least from my experience was of Wasteland, and people just kind of letting their nerd flag fly in all its glory, and pageants, and it's just a lot of fun. They also do something called Neotropolis, which is a newer one. I think it's been 2 or 3 years so far, where it's cyberpunk themed.
And that's a whole separate event, we found the photos of that, and we were going over all that stuff in episode 2, when we were going through the Wasteland Weekend website, going like, what is this? Oh my god!
Yeah.
So
we had about an aneurysm going to that.
Yeah.
So that'll be in April, and and from what I understand, that tends to be around 2,000 people, 2,000 to 2,500. So it is. It's even more compact, so you really kind of get the opportunity. I think that's the nice thing. You get the opportunity to chat with people and see people over and over again. Mm-hmm. So, it makes it a lot easier too to kind of create or find a community when it's not. By contrast, Burning Man has 85,000 people. It's the 3rd largest city in Nevada when it's on. You have to have a bike to get around.
Anywhere. Yeah.
I think a bike would have been useful at Wasteland, but definitely not needed. And I didn't go with the camp. I came in an RV. Ended up lucking out in terms of I parked at the tail end in the open camping of Main Street, so it was very easy to find my way back. Just walked down Main Street until
stumbled back down Main Street at the end of the night, and there you go. Yeah.
And and those areas had smaller camps too that don't, because the main area is areas that have all been built out. So there's no cars, etc. in there that aren't themed. And so that was, again, it's really kind of going into this immersive environment where it's just, let your LARP imagination go as far, down as you want to go.
Yeah. So what was your character? Who was your character?
Yeah. So I basically, so what I ended up, kind of developing as I was there, I became known as Whiskey Wrench, because, I work in the whiskey world, and I'd had kind of a mechanic's outfit, and I was going around with my backpack, having, bottles and all sorts of spirits, and just kind of, sharing whiskey with folks. And, as the mechanic of the kind of the persona of like, well, if you want me to fix something, I can fix it, but it's gonna go a lot more quickly if I have a little bit of whiskey with it too. Mm-hmm. Kind of the old Scotty thing of I can do it, Captain, but and it was so that was sort of the persona that I adopted, and some people had one. Some people, I'd see the same couple of people together where they were rolling out with different characters day to day with some impressive kit.
Okay.
And so, they might have like kind of a Western gunslinger outfit one day. Then they might have kind of like a fallen Eastern European style outfit the next day, of a lot of old kind of Russian style gear and Eastern European accents, etc., and everything in between. And so, yeah, it was. You had your war boys. You had from fall. You had your Centurions. So you had a whole group of folks. Hailing to the Kaiser, rolling around. With
George
their
Missionaries got to cut those guys down. NCR all the way.
They're
I'm all for failed and struggling democracy.
You had the Autumn Pact, which were sort of like Wasteland Raiders. That they had some amazing, or not Raiders, Rangers, who had some amazing gear. I mean, they looked like they basically had like full, they had full like almost like Dune style suits that they were wearing, just fully covered head to tail, with their fabric ponchos and just kind of almost look, it was awesome. I mean, these different camps have some really impressive stuff.
Did you get any pictures while you were out there?
I don't know that I didn't get many pictures. I know there's the whole, like, people are posting to
he's busy bartering whiskey, y'all. There's things important to do there. If you were allowed to use the whiskey in the bartering, I'm sure you would have won the whole thing.
I did barter a little bit of whiskey for this cool 3D printed insect that's I forget where I put that. It's like it's still boxed up.
Gotcha. Yeah, we don't want to make you bust that out. Don't want to risk ruining it.
Yeah, I should have grabbed that. But no, I didn't. I mean, I think I only snapped a couple of pictures. But if you pull up through Facebook, a lot of people are pulling out, posting their pictures from the event. People looked amazing.
Yeah, it seems epic. And actually, I knew. I know you were there. My friend Mike Axelson was there. There's a whole bunch of people that I like looking on Facebook. I was like, oh my God, they were there too. It seemed like, I was kind of surprised. I actually should have been like making a list to be like, hey, do you know any of these people? That's just like, little 6 degrees of separation here. Just to see who's good to roll and whose camps and stuff like that. But now also, you talked about Main Street. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's dope.
So you've got, this is somebody who was at one of the taverns, or one of the Western saloons, and was doing all of the tombstone style 2-gun, kind of juggling and gunplay, and it's you've got all sorts of. Again, the costumes are impeccable, and folks have been going for years. Have their own lore, have their own, special kind of events that they focus on. Went to the Alchemist Guild, which was basically people who are home bartenders who, brought in all sorts of infusions that they were sharing with folks. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will do stuff like they'll make, for in the post-apocalyptic theme, they'll make their own, cups where they're taking.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
A fork and a Spam can, and it's just a lot of cool stuff, and again, people throughout the year gathering stuff at swap meets and or building throughout the year, and then swapping and bartering of. It's like, man, I want a Spam can drinking cup. I never would have thought of that until I saw it and was like,
yeah, right. But now it's like it does make you look at everything a little differently. Just like how every time I walk into Home Depot. Ever since high school, I'm like, oh, that could be a great buffer. Oh, I need that for a shield. Oh, it's like, yeah, you just start like, once you see the potential for things, like you could see it everywhere, Jen, my wife has taken to upcycling paintings, and we've done up the lobby at the Hobgoblin with paintings that she has painted, that she found at thrift shops, and she's painted monsters into them, like literal hobgoblins and other things. And actually, hold on a second. I'm gonna see if I can grab one of them. She's been working on a few new ones. Let me.
Didn't you just look like a dragon in it? I love every time I see your stories. They're just new paintings of cool stuff. I'm like, hell yeah. It makes me want to go back to the Hobgoblin every time.
Yeah. Alex was asking about Borderland Psychos and meat bicycles. If there are, I did not see them. I don't know. Again, I think like Borderlands is one of the things that that isn't as present there, again, with this kind of the different style. But
maybe next year after the movie came out. But then again, I don't know how many people saw the movie, so
movie didn't do too great. But but just to give Jen a shout out, this was just a painting of a bathroom that she painted these two little hobgoblins into, one helping the other one get up into the sink so you could brush his teeth.
That's great.
So she's bringing these to a craft fair this weekend in Burbank. She got like 6 of these, and then a bunch of other jewelry that she's handmade, and it's like that. This is the kind of stuff that could be really fun to share, stuff like that. I'm constantly impressed with what people can do with their imagination and their vision. Like once they learn to see something in a new light, it just like what they do with that vision and how they realize it. I think I mentioned this when we had dinner the other night, Paul, but Harris and I, we were kicking around an idea for a camp for us for next year. And we talked about, because this channel winds up being, or this series winds up being very wide ranging in terms of topics, because we always find different ways to relate things. And so we got talking about Mr. Burns, the Post-Electric play.
Yeah.
And are you familiar with that show?
I'm not. Only what you told me, but
yeah. So for you and for everybody in the chat who hasn't heard of this play, if you can find a production of it running wherever you are, I strongly recommend checking the show out. If it's at a good theater company, this could potentially be a show full of very bad productions just because of just the scope of it. I could see a lot of people wanting to take a bite of this apple and not necessarily realizing what they're getting themselves into. But it's a show where it's in 3 acts. The first act is maybe 7 months after all of the electricity on Earth just went out. There's no explanation. There's no reasoning behind it. And your act 1 is at a campfire. You're witnessing a group of survivors who have run into each other sitting around a campfire, all kind of comparing their stories. It's very the conversation in that act reminds me very much of the conversations that we had with people 7 months to a year after 9/11, being like, where were you? What happened? What were you doing when? And all that. And everybody kind of like talking about the people they lost or the people that they knew that they were trying to find and all this other stuff. And just like everybody kind of adapting to this new normal once they realize that the power is just not coming back. Act 2, though, is years after the fact. I want to say 10 years after the electricity is gone. And you're watching rehearsal, a traveling troupe of performers rehearsing their latest traveling show. And it's they're doing a dramatized version of an old episode of The Simpsons, complete with commercial breaks. And this is what they do, is they travel from town to town doing old episodes of The Simpsons to pass the hat and make some money. And they're just a traveling troupe. And of course, Act 3 is that you watch a religious ceremony based on The Simpsons, because that lore is just kind of like taken over and permeated so much that it's become our new ancient history, and culture has like ensconced itself or taken root in it so hard that it has now become literally its own religion. But it's that middle act. It's that middle act that I think that fits really well. So I pitched the idea of like, well, let's get a group of performers together and make some costumes and stuff, and get bring this out to the desert where we're a roving troupe who will put up shows and just do like old bastardized episodes of Simpsons or whatever else. Like I think it could be a hell of a lot of fun. And how hard would it be to put together a 22-minute play or a 30-minute play with some dancing and choreography for the commercials and stuff, and have like come up with creative ways to beatbox in music or whatever else you got to do. You could
even make it sidetrack centric and do some old Stargate episodes. And
old Stargate episodes.
That'd be fun as hell.
That'd be fun, yeah, because that's how the channel started out. It was like a Stargate fan channel, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're big old on Stargate, big Stargate folks around here.
Yeah, and there was some recent news on that, yeah.
Yeah, Sony. It seems like come December, it's alleged news. It's rumors and scoops at the moment, of course. But come December, Sony has apparently at least pitched a TV film and 3 seasons worth of television show to MGM Plus and Amazon for some stuff
with some of the original cast, or
seems to be a continuation, but we're not 1,000% sure on anything just yet. But but it seems to be, and they have said that they will let us know by Christmas. So hopefully, as December comes around, something comes up.
Merry Christmas, y'all!
Biggest of ways. Merry freaking Christmas if that happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I think that would work great. I mean, I went to a mead and read event where they were pouring out mead and they were reading the original Pinocchio, which that stuff's dark. I didn't realize just how dark. It'd been a while.
Yeah.
But there was also
that ain't Disney here, yo.
No, there was also a camp that had some puppet shows, which I had not. I didn't get a chance. I just schedule wise to see, but there were one of the sheriffs who was running was running also on puppet rights of so there was a chance of puppets are people, and there were actually in the voting there were 3 wristbanded puppets who were official citizens of the Wasteland who cast their votes.
Oh wow!
It was I mean again like it is a really broad tent sort of welcoming of folks of like the different lores and interactions at Wasteland. I mean, it was awesome.
That's so cool. Now we're now I know that there was like regular camp where you didn't have to have everything be immersive or but then on Main Street that was like everything had to be specifically themed.
Yeah. I think it's kind of so because you have sort of your every morning. I only saw a little bit. You have the official like opening of the gates, and that's this giant steel where it has Wasteland where the gates are there, and you've got the guards and across from that some of like the War Boys camp, and you'd also sometimes have some of these amazing war wagons kind of roll through. Which again, like the engineering on these and just the build outs is truly impressive. My favorite, there was somebody who had a Corvette, like a lifted Corvette with a harpoon and all sorts of stuff on it. I was like, that's just kind of an old Stingray body. Cool. Gorgeous. Yeah. And so
cool.
Like you've got the theme zone and then everything outside of that is, sort of open camping and less needing to be themed. And then you have all sorts of your different sort of areas. Also, there's a place called the Green Space, which had thrown weapons and archery, where you could bring your own gear, or they had a couple of hours every morning where people could be taught how to throw and shoot. I mean, it's just a lot of fun.
That would help me out the next time I do the Spartan race. They always have that spear toss towards the end when your arms are just jello at that point, and if you don't stick your shot, you got to do burpees.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's the worst.
But
no burpees.
Yeah. It's I mean, again, it's a mashup of so many different styles, and everyone is really welcoming of and everyone I think is kind of generally also kind of recruiting of hey, you looking for a camp? You got a camp? What's going on? And so you can be as involved or not involved as you want to be.
That's cool. How do you know like roughly how big how many members of each camp there are? Is there a cap on anything like that, or
I don't think there's a cap? I mean, I would say like it seems like some camps are larger than others. I mean, it seemed to me like the average camp size ranged from about 10 to I think the larger camps are probably like 40. Because again, it's not as I didn't see anything that was incredibly sprawling. I imagine some of the sound camps actually might have had some of the largest crews, but I didn't get to know them all that well. But yeah, I think I think people have their own sort of smaller setups too. But I would say I didn't see anything that I would imagine was more than 40 people. I'd say the average size was probably around a dozen to 2 dozen people. And but
I found the Love Bonds website, and it looks like there may be a little over a dozen. 3.
Yeah.
4, 5.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, about 16 people-ish.
Yeah, and they have their own. Yeah, they have a bunch of their own bikes, and they have their own truck. And yeah, they're a lot of fun.
That's cool. Love that.
Yeah,
That's really
Zeke's is a huge build out too. I mean, I think that camp, that's probably around 40, but that's a performance venue, etc. I would imagine the Death Guild might be on the higher end because I mean, that Thunderdome is a lot. But
in the best ways.
Yeah. And I think some of the War Boys camps. I mean, these camps are they're so impressive.
What was your favorite part of the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oof. That's a great question. I think it was just running into people. I think my favorite thing my favorite venue was the casino. Mm-hmm. It was just like the casino, and they had these auctions for caps at the tail end. That kind of tied in the lore of the. I feel bad for forgetting the guy's name who won as sheriff, who he'd been creating for years this lore, this baseball theme, etc. And so he started creating baseball cards about 5 years ago, I want to say. And so the last item on the last night of the auction was a double binder of over 1,000 playing cards that he had made over the last several years, because that were all signed. And so that was the last auction item that the head of one of the trader camps ended up winning for. I think it was 11,000 caps. And
wow.
So yeah, and so it's the last chance casino caps that specifically, and I have a whole bunch of caps. I had a couple of good nights. I was thinking of you, Greg, because I know you like to gamble.
I do.
And I missed there's a cap color up event where, for some of these you can get these like heavy metal coins, etc., for like 200 caps that recognize that. I have a whole bunch of 100 coin cap ones, but yeah, that was just awesome. And you get, caps, you just basically go up, you get a drink and some caps, and you either have to, barter something or tell a joke or do, something. It's really welcoming and fun. And learn to play some Wasteland style craps. That was nice. a lot of fun. And I think that's the thing, that's great about casino games, especially when there isn't any real money on the line. People are all being really, really friendly, really kind of cheering each other on, and communal. They did at the Outpost. They did a sea shanty and kind of worker songs night, which was awesome. The main stage burlesque and rock shows were epic. There's just so much to love. And then you go to a place like the Love Bombs or someplace else where they're doing a high tea, with herbal teas and cookies, etc., Wasteland style, and just sitting down. As they've got a cooling fan going, misting, etc., and just chatting. It's what's not to love.
Right from Wasteland rock and roll, like the heavy metal Mad Max stuff, just in a nice herbal teas around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Got something for everybody there. That is so cool, man. Oh my God! Now
Buck, is it this guy?
It is not.
Okay. He was just running for sheriff. Okay, that's the first guy.
There was 10 people running for sheriff.
Oh damn!
And it was a vote for Slugger. I think is the Slugger. I feel so bad because I talked to him. He's awesome. He lives up in Lancaster. He puts so much into his campaign. Let me see here. Cards on the table. I voted for him.
That's fair.
Yeah. Let's see here. And he was.
I'm on the Reddit real quick, just trying to find him.
Yeah, but his outfit is brilliant. Again, the whole aspect is he was running after he'd won as sheriff, where he was helping to run the final night auction of just, again, like he started, I think, in year one of doing around 100 different people, and so he was working with a photographer as well. I've never been a big baseball guy. I know, Greg, I know you're a big baseball guy. These cards are impressive. Some of them are foils, etc.
Man.
Like, right. It's awesome. And so, that had been one of his projects of really kind of elevating, this creating this whole mythos behind the baseball themes, etc. And I'm just really glad that those two binders went to a good home. I'm going to try and track down the traders and take a look at them next year. But it was just, again, it's one of those things. If you were like, let's get a bunch of really talented nerds together to, create a communal LARP where everyone's welcome to be as engaged or unengaged as they want to, and dive into the communal fun. You get Wasteland.
That's freaking cool. I love that.
It's just like Comic-Con, not even squared, not even cubed. It's to the 10th degree. I love it. It's great.
And again, some of these war wagons. That's one of the things. And there's a camp called, I think, Black Thumbs, that I went in there. I was like, "Are you guys just all like the engine, the spread of vehicles that are out front, including like one of those mono wheels with the engines and like all sorts." I'm just looking at these things.
Oh, wow.
Like, so this is where the incredibly talented engineers just go and hang out and build really cool stuff. Like it would be like the Gnomes Collective if it was like a D&D thing. I'm just looking at this stuff, or just the Artificers Guild. I was just looking at this stuff and just be like, my gosh, these people are talented, and just bringing out their stuff. And they do like a couple of parades of the cars and the bikes and stuff throughout the event. It's just, again, if this kind of scratches that itch in your brain of like, it'd be cool if this thing existed, you got to go. I mean, there's people from the East Coast, from all over, who are out. And again, it's not so large that it's daunting, that people don't want to welcome you in. It's very much like everyone was very, very welcoming.
Well, another daunting aspect of it for some people, it's not super expensive, is it? It's fairly affordable.
Yeah, I think the ticket, and it's not that far away from a lot of major LA city, Southern California cities. I think the early tickets were around $360. I didn't get mine until later on, but there's no vehicle pass. So you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood with tax, et cetera, of around $400 for for an event that's a Wednesday to Sunday. That isn't
pretty decent. Yeah.
$80
a day. Yeah.
And there, in addition to the kind of the merchants row, there's also kind of a food court row. There were a whole bunch of food vendors. So it was pretty much standard food vendor prices as you'd expect in LA. So it's one of those things, again, where it's not like Burning Man, where you've got to bring everything that you need. So it's one of those things where I think a lot of people weren't sure whether or not they could go. They throw, a basic tent into their car. They've got their gear, and they can just roll on out and, get up in the morning and go to the food vendors and get their coffee and get their meal. And, it's set up in a fine way. There's all the portos, et cetera. They're small enough also that I think this is one of the nice things of certain festivals, where they've got the hand washing stations that have the little foot pump.
Oh, yeah.
Like those don't exist at Burning Man. There's just way too many people and not enough water, out there. So I was impressed by, top to bottom in terms of organization. It's a fun time.
Yeah. Pardon me. Jen is bringing over little baby Ginny.
Oh,
baby kitten. So this is the new baby girl.
Oh.
So everybody say hi to her. Well, welcome Ginny to the Wasteland, y'all.
Is it Ginny? Welcome to the Wasteland, Ginny.
Yeah.
The Radical Wasteland.
I was giving your art a shout out because we were talking about arts and craftsmanship and upcycling and stuff like that, and how people like envision cool things and make them happen. So big shout out. So
the question Andrea had is where was this? So this is Wasteland Weekend, and so it's out near Edwards Air Force Base in the Mojave. And check out the Wasteland Weekend website if you have questions about that. Again, Neotropolis is going to be in April. I plan that's cyberpunk themed as opposed to Wasteland as a post-apocalyptic theme. I mean, great people.
You plan on doing Neotropolis as well?
Yeah. I need to start getting gear ready for that, because that's
instead of needs more dirt, needs more neon now. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Do you know what you're gonna shoot for to like dress up as for that?
I don't. I need to. I think I got to figure out what I can do, etc. I mean, I've seen so many cool cyber swords and things. I think I'll probably do something along the lines of a gunslinger. Is what I'd like to do, but we'll see. I mean, the sort of cyberpunk stuff is something that I'm not as well versed in, so I'm really going to have to kind of dive into that deep end and see kind of what I think speaks to me the most. And
that's like bust out the old Shadowrun source books for inspiration,
Yeah. Or do some sort of hacker style thing of seeing what sort of like the sort of
wrist computer. You got to be like,
yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah.
Play a little Mass Effect. Watch some Blade Runner or something real quick. Get some inspiration.
And take a look at the picture, because I've seen some amazing costumes out there, and it's Yeah, I mean, I look forward to it, and everyone is so complimentary to each other as well. I mean, that's one of the things that's really cool. I didn't. There are also a lot of folks who were going around gifting photos and kind of doing some photo shoots, which actually reminds me, I need to look at this one gentleman's website of he captured my friend and I just kind of as it was kind of golden hour. It was like, hey, you want some photos of you guys? I was like, yeah, awesome. And that's sort of the energy of. I would imagine in most other places, like, okay, that's going to be $5 or $10 or whatever. Like, I'll take a photo of you, but it's going to charge, as opposed to people just being like, no, this is, I just love gifting these things to people and seeing how people are and practicing my photography. And people had some setups in front of some of the cars or some of the different things of, I mean, it's a lot of fun and a lot of great energy. I mean, they've got drunken yoga in the morning at one of the major camps that's always serving mimosas, and I was shocked. There was like 100 people getting their stretch on.
It's gonna be 101 if I'm there that weekend.
Yeah. Getting their stretch on.
Even I'd have a drink at that,
So, yeah, I mean,
dude, what would you having done this once? What would you do differently in your prep and in your execution for next year?
Yeah, I think, it was in the difference was, so someone pointed out of kind of creating a persona ahead of time of like just thinking about what I wanted to do. Because some people will be like, oh, you've got to be gifted your name versus, and I was kind of given my name by someone who helped me at the body shop. He's like, well, what are you kind of looking for, et cetera. And I think sometimes people can get hung up on, having to be gifted a name versus kind of choosing a name or a persona and knowing that you can change. Because it's like, ultimately, like, I only ran into like one kind of stick in the mud person. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you got a stick in the mud person being like, this is your Wasteland name, it's like, no, you don't have to take it. So you get to choose anyway. So I would say, just kind of pick something you enjoy and go in that direction. But I think the bigger thing was the bartering aspect of just kind of looking at swap meets or things that you have around your house. If you were looking to do a garage sale you're like, okay, what do I got that I'm ready to part with, or it's kind of going out to the swap meets of things that you think are neat or that you think other people might like, and just picking up those little tchotchkes to do your trade with. Bones are also really popular there, so people are trading all sorts of different types of bones. It was interesting, big bones, small bones. I saw someone was like, actually, I don't have a big bone, and they had a couple of vials of it was like pheasant vertebra, and things that were just like, again, things that I would never have thought like, I want to trade for that. But
you could turn that into jewelry or something. You could do something cool with that. Yeah.
All sorts of just really neat things that people were, the only thing that you really think health code wise, people weren't bartering booze, but you can always gift stuff. And
they were charging caps for that, like good capitalists.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I would have done that I was just so busy ahead of time is just they publish sort of what the schedule of events is. And I would say just create sort of a rough schedule for yourself of what you're thinking that you might want to do. So you've got something to deviate from. So you're not spending your time kind of sorting out, what's going on when.
Yeah. Is it almost like Comic-Con where, of course, you have your big main stage where something's going on and maybe there's like some panels going on, but almost the panels are more the what do we call them? The groups again? What are the love bombs again?
Camps. Camps. Yeah.
Are there? Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. I didn't mean to.
Just saying, can you skip the yoga part and do the drunk part? Yeah. All these places, the bar, generally on all those, the bars are open. Doing the mimosas, et cetera, in the morning. Because there's all sorts of programming going on at different places. I mean, a lot of the music is going to be at the nighttime, but then you'll have these different meetups all over the place. And, as you'd say, like panels or events to do you'd have the different kind of card trading events. They had which I didn't get a chance to see, they had a quick draw competition, which I would have loved to have seen, where it was literally, it was a 6-gun quick draw where the first person, you had the judges are the first to hear the click was the winner. And it had to be basically a single action revolver. And they had, everyone had to use the same ones. Apparently, because I met some people that I was like, oh, how'd you do? And they're like, oh, I got out in round one. And these were people who were quick. And so that was a pretty interesting thing of seeing, all these little things. There was competitions for, again, the hand throwing weapons, the archery. There was just tons of events and meetups and things. So I think, having as you were saying, of just like a panel at Comic-Con, of knowing what you want to do and kind of where things are, because they also let the maps they release the maps ahead of time, so knowing kind of where your friends might be, where the camps are, where that I think will be my biggest tip that I'll do different next time.
Do they have an app for it, or is it just like a website or Instagram or something?
If there was an app, I didn't see it. So it's on the website. They published sort of the schedule. I think there might have been a downloadable app as well, because there were a couple of events that folks were talking about that were later ads that I wasn't aware of, that weren't in the published. I mean, some people also again, to the creativity of they took the image of that was the layout of the camps, etc., and then they went and did a fabric printing on like a kerchief. So they had that, instead of walking around with like the paper printout that you could get at the post office, you had fabric maps, in terms, and it was just like,
dude, the way people think this stuff up. I mean, I know that fabric has been used for maps before, but just like the level of detail that they're willing to commit to make this happen, like the amount of like real world prep time. I mean, I thought it was crazy when we were in high school and I was spending, afternoons going to Home Depot and going to Joann Fabrics and stuff and making costumes and boffer weapons. And that would be like, I'd spend a whole weekend doing a weekend of, doing prep for one Avalon event. But now it seems like that's like, now when you're an adult with money, the level of commitment that you can make,
Well, I think, so many of these people are part of like the maker community, and they've got, some of these people are designers. And I think that there were a number of people at the body shop who are full-time makeup and prosthetic professionals in, film and television. So, their stuff is always on point, and they're sometimes trading with their friends who are professional costumers who are, they're just rolling in hard, looking real good. And when you've got folks who have 3D printers and maybe are graphic artists, et cetera, and they're like, oh yeah, of course I just put it onto like a silk kerchief, et cetera. And like, that's my day to day, except for,
I'm like, God damn it, I'm an actor. What do I have to offer? Well, we'll show up and do post-apocalyptic Shakespeare, and we'll do some Simpsons.
100%.
I've got a 3D printer. I don't have the technological know it all how to do it, so we'll figure that part out, and we'll get going on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I really, really, really want to freaking do this, guys. Like, I want to make this happen. And I feel like we could get a good crew together to put a show up out there. I'll bring my poor Emerson interns that semester and be like, all right, motherfuckers, strap in. You're going, get in, losers. We're going to the Mojave.
Yeah. And I think, again, the nice thing, especially if you're in Southern California, there are a lot of people from San Francisco, a lot of people from Portland, a lot of people from, these areas of like, it's not the drive there, et cetera, more for Portland people, et cetera, like, but especially for Southern California, it's not a trek. I think that's one of the things that was really nice of Burning Man's. Usually it was like 16 to 20 hours to get there, over some passes and all sorts of things. Like, this is, you're going to Edwards Air Force Base. It's and then turning off on another road, and it's just that last bit. But I mean, it is about as light of a lift, I think, as I've seen for camping.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I feel like that we should have like a little production meeting corner of each of these episodes here, Harris, so we could be talking about plans for it and everything for what we would do or what we will do.
Come in.
Absolutely.
Because we've got good LA people and we've got sidetrack people, so
absolutely, we got to get a UK contingent out here. You all got to like cash in some frequent flyer miles and come out and LARP with us like it's the end of the world. So, well, Paul, thank you so much for taking your time with us this morning. I think we're gonna have to wrap this one up because unfortunately, real world is encroaching on me. That I gotta get down to my day job. But thank you so much for coming in today, sharing your insights with us. I hope we can have you back on the show in the future as we continue to talk about all things Fallout and post-apocalypse.
Anytime.
Hey, come hang out. You're always welcome. Thank you all.
All righty, guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We hope this was interesting and informative to you. What if you were going to be a post-apocalyptic wastelander, who would you be, and what would your who or what would you do? Like who would you be? What would you do? That's what I'm trying to say. The coffee is still failing me right now. But yeah, tell us about in the chat what your Wasteland persona would be, and I'm going to get back in the comments later on this afternoon and chat with folks and about their concepts. So in the meantime, thank you all. I hope you have a great day. Have a great week. We'll be back 2 weeks. Every other Friday is Fallout Friday. Best Fallout 4 starting tips: get really, really good at the special, or at the cloning bug, the item cloning bug. I play on console, and I've never been able to actually get it to freaking work. But if you can clone that special book at the top, you can max out your stats at like right after after you get out of the vault. Once you get back to your old house, so I'm a big fan of that. I'm trying to get back into doing New Vegas right now, and I still have to play Fallout London. I've got it downloaded. Oh my gosh! And Fallout New Mexico trailer just dropped for that. Another fan project on the levels of Fallout London. Fallout New Mexico. We're going to talk about that in our episode in 2 weeks. I'm waiting to get some more information about this, but it's another independently developed, massive Fallout overlay set in Mexico City. And what I loved about it was when I was watching the trailer, most of it was in Spanish. I was like, heck yeah, all right, let's go. So loved it, loved the music, loved the vibe. And I love the fact that it's, while Bethesda can't be everywhere at once creating stories and content throughout the post-apocalyptic world, the fans are stepping up and creating their own lore and expanding the stories themselves. So very, very cool to see this. And now that we know it, it's early enough that we can follow along on this journey and development. So really excited to check that out too.
It's really cool that after Bethesda said, all right, we aren't going to ever kind of stray outside of the U.S. Like Fallout is a U.S. mainland kind of game, which hell, Canada's part of the U.S. and Fallout. So give us a little bit of something, but
yeah, right.
It's nice that the fans are like, okay, y'all aren't doing that.
We're going to do it.
License to explore. Yeah. That's like, it's our turn. That's great.
Yeah.
Also, it's against every other Bethesda game ever, Alex, but just don't do too many side quests at the beginning. You do need some certain things, or not too many side quests. Don't do too many, what are they called in Fallout 4? You're building your own camps and stuff.
The camp build outs, those things.
You do too many at once, you end up having to spend your entire game just taking care of those.
Like trying to build your own. My God, like why am I blanking on this? It's you build out Good Springs and you build that's Fallout Vegas. We're gonna wrap this one up here because we're obviously having aneurysms simultaneously. Me and Harris here, guys. Thank you all so much once again. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and until then, stay frosty in the wasteland, y'all. Talk to you soon.
See y'all.
See you.